is the moment to use. We don't throw a straight line in the mouth each patient came in the office. This is before and after, before and after. I know that you don't like this retention on the lower, but you can see that you cannot see when the patient smiles. Even my wife, after this retention for many years, this is after 6 years, this is after 9 years, and it's still stable. You can see the 5 and the perfect +1, perfect midline, and she is happy. Then we remove. Second patient. Oh, Luca is a little bit worse than Anna. He is full +2, as you can see here, mixed condition. And he has really pretty good crowding in the lower arch and also in the upper arch, about 10 millimeters of crowding. And look, the canines here very high. And we know that you will better see the position of the canine in the frontal end. And so also we measure the expansion, we measure the J point, the position of the denture, in order to have indication of dental or skeletal expansion, as Luca needs. But we also measure the position of the canines. And back in 2004, with the group in Florence during my PhD thesis, I published this paper in the angle orthodontics. And we saw that the closer the canine crowns to the mid-sagittal plane and the larger the posterior portion of the maxilla, the higher probability of canine puncture, with a classification power of 95%. And so we was afraid about this canine here in the left side, because it's very close to the midline. This means that probably this canine will impact. And so can we do something for this patient? And look, this canine seems close to, but applying the formula, it will erupt well. This is the lateral epiphyseal of Luca. He is brachyfacial too, mesofacial tendency to brachyfacial lower phaneolated reduction. And parents complain about misalignment, and when they close the mouth, he cannot see the lower incisors. And it's a +2 division 2, deep bite, brachyfacial, lower arch protrusion, and lower facial 8 reduction. In green, you can see the long range focus, and in red, the visual treatment objective. And so we want to distalize the upper arch, and we want to mesialize the lower arch. And also we want to intrude the lower incisors. We want to correct the deep bite by intrusion of the front dental, of the lower incisors especially. So this is a little bit more difficult. So we put here, and let's say a little bit far from the center of the curve. And so we use a mechanic that we call reciprocal, because we want to mesialize the lower arch and distalize the upper arch. So we want to affect both the mandible, the lower tension and the upper tension. But we are in mixed condition. So we use the lower utility arch and the upper utility arch with elastics. And look the beautiful class 1 that the patient developed, not me. But it's natural. I didn't push anything. I just unlocked the malocclusion and I allowed to the mandible to go forward by itself. This is after then I finish obviously the brackets. This is after treatment. Look at the pipe. Beautiful pipe. Beautiful smile. And he will grow. He still grows. Perfect symmetry of the face of the denture. And still brachyfacial, as you can see here, 94 of the facial axis. The mandible is pretty square, and the lower facial height is reduced. We don't want to change the pattern. We don't want that a brachyfacial become a mesofacial, or a dolichofacial become a mesofacial. Absolutely not. This is characteristic. The characteristic is brachyfacial, and it stays brachyfacial with the ears tension without any alteration of its skeletal pattern. It's like the eyes. We don't want to change the color of the eyes of our patient. Look the mandible. Look the mandible that went forward about 2 degrees. This is not me. This is the growth. This is not my treatment. I permit to the nature to do this. I affect a little bit the maxilla due to the torque that I gave to the upper incisors. Look that I didn't distalize really, but I prevent the mesenterization of the growth, the curve during the growth. And look, I distalize a little bit due to the crowding of the patient. So I distalize a little bit and then move a little bit forward the lower tension. Only if you superimpose, you can see what really happened in your patient. So I use for 1 year acrylics to unlock the malocclusion, then the utility arches with the elastic for 10 months, then I wait for the permanent addition 1 year, and then I put the multi-bracket approach, the bi-vertical approach. This is before and after. This is before and after. Look, beautiful arch that the patient developed. When I start, after the utility arches and the elastics, and then when I finish. This is after 1 year and 8 months, 3 years and 6 months, stable. 7 years, stable. Knock the door to Antonella, she is class 2, as you can see. A little bit of crowding on the lower arch, misalignment of the upper incisor. And she has 32 teeth. We have 32 teeth. Okay, we don't want to extract the wisdom teeth in all the patients. Some patients have space for 10 molars. This patient no. So we recommend to remove the 10 molars. Not just because we aren't able to move the upper denture backward if the patient needs this kind of treatment, but because we don't have enough space in the lower arch, and so that molar cannot work properly. Because a little bit under the gingiva here, underneath here, also the other side. So when you have this condition, you have a little bit of extrusion of the squeezing effect. This of the Sal described of the upper molars. So can cause pain and can cause alteration of the occlusal plane. She is symmetrical and she is mesofascial. And the position, the occlusal plane is perfect, but she has a deep bite, and look, the lower denture is positioned backward. And she has pretty good crowding, 6 millimeters on the lower arch and 3.4 millimeters on the upper arch. So she complained about the misalignment of the upper incisors and about the upper lip inversion that occur in class 2 patient. And she, let me say, class 2 division 2, deep bite, mesofascial with the lower arch protrusion. And the computer suggests, in order to distalize the upper arch, suggests the extraction of upper premolars. And I know that many of you agree with this kind of treatment, but I don't agree. I don't like to remove premolars just for distalize the upper arch. Obviously, we perform this kind of treatment, the extraction, I mean, but usually we perform for extraction of the premolar in other cases, not in these cases, in other cases, just for aesthetics, but it is not the topic of the lecture. Okay, so imagine that we want to distalize here, but we don't want to move the lower denture forward. We want to maintain the lower denture in that position because it's a good position. So we want to intrude the lower denture, the lower incisor. We want to intrude the upper incisors. We want to unlock the malocclusion. We want to give torque in the upper incisors here. So we put Antonella here in the middle. It's not easy, not difficult. And so this is the case when we want to use maximum anchorage. We don't want to move the lower denture forward. We just correct. We want to correct class 2 by distalization of the upper arch with the sectional mechanics. And so first of all, again, we want to open the bite first with the utility arches in the upper, the lower. Then we start from the second molar because the elastic is longer, and so we don't have a vertical component. We want to avoid, in this case, the vertical component because we don't want the lower molar extrude. We want to maintain low the occlusal plane. We want to maintain the lower molar, okay, on the same level of the first molar in this case. And we'll start with the sectional mechanics. And when this is the staging methods. We start with the utility arches. This is the starting procedures. Then intra-arch correction. We escape. We do the inter-arch correction with the sectional mechanics. So we don't need bracket on the premolars. And the secret to don't attach the bracket during saving shave time during your job in the clinic is to don't put bracket on the premolars if you don't achieve a beautiful +1. When you achieve a beautiful +1, you can start to notice. In order to select the right elastic, we invented we patented this instrument, and we study the characteristics of all the elastics that you have in the market, and you can have just three elastics in order to correct all the malocclusion, because we use the same thickness of the elastic. Let's say the 5 ohms or the 6 ohms, because the force depends on the thickness. So we want the thickest elastics, and so we use this. And we use the 360 that we call number 3, the 1/4 that we call number 4, and the 5/16 that we call number 5. And when you measure the distance, when you apply the elastic, so in this case it's from the lower second molar to the canine, you will use the instrument recommend to use the number 4. It's very easy. Okay, if you have a shorter distance, you can use the number 3. If you have longer distance, you can use number 5. And in these 3 elastics, you have everything. And we publish. If you want, I can send to you the article where there is the background and the rationale of this research. So, after the correction of the class 2, we involved the canine in the utility arch. So it became 2x6 on the lower. Okay. Then we start to treat with the light intruder retractor in the upper arch in order to maintain torque and close the space. And now is the time to put bracket on the premolars and the canines, both sides. And now you can use the fabric wire. Strength wire. And then you finish in a beautiful classroom. When I finish, I take straight. I forgot to remove the molars. And I asked to the patient, why you didn't remove the molars? Oh, I'm scared about it. But I recommend. She said, yes, but you forgot. Yes, I forgot. So we can digitalize as much as we want. So it's not a matter of the mechanics. It's because there is no space, because they have no play. They cannot function in this way. So this is the reason, because we want to remove. Not in each patient, but this patient, yes. So this is the control, frontal, and the look, the anchorage, even distalized the lower arch, and the distalization, a little bit the mandible went forward in an adult patient. And look, the distalization of the upper tension. This is before and after. Before and after from class 2 to a beautiful class 1 with all the contacts described by Ricketts. Beautiful arches, upper and all over. And this is after 2 years. It's stable. A little bit of crowding here. Let's take out. This is after 9 years and 5 months when we remove the lower no, we remove the year after. This is after 10 years and this is still stable. Incredible. And obviously we remove the third more. Okay. Let's go to the next patient. That is Damiano. Oh, Damiano is full. This side, plus to the other side, a little bit of midline deviation, and he had fracture on the front teeth. Why? Because he is a class 2. Because he has a big overjet. So if you don't want to treat kids in class 2 at the age of 6, at the age of 5, that is when we recommend, because you want to wait for the spurt, for the peak of the curve. So you want to wait for the puberty in order to push the mandible forward. Okay. Take care about these kids and think that if you treat this patient before the eruption of the upper incisors, you will prevent and reduce the risk. It's published in the literature. You read about 40% of fracture or lose the upper front teeth. They concluded, the authors of this paper, they concluded they no other advantage in this treatment, in early treatment in class 2, just the prevention of the fracture of the upper front teeth. We aren't agreed with this sentence, but we say, okay, but to me, it's incredible treatment that you can perform to your patient if you love your patient. If it's your kids, that I have a chance to prevent the fracture of the upper incisors. And you say to the parents say, let's go, doctor. Treat my kids. Are you agree? It works in this way. I do the questions and you do the answer. Are you agree? Yes. I will answer for you. I'm joking. So, Damiano has not crowding on the lower arch, a little bit of misalignment in the upper arch. They already removed the wisdom teeth, and he's a little bit asymmetrical. And we still perform the frontal edge. Now we have deconbined, we still perform this analysis. And the mandible is square. This is a not easy patient because the mandible is square, it seems brackish, but it's a little bit rotated backward, little bit, 82. And the occlusal plane is a little bit above the side point. But look, the deep bite, and look the retrusion protrusion of the lower arch. So I complained the misalignment and the condition of the upper frontal peak. His E is a class 2 deep bite, major facial lower arch retrusion, lower facial rate reduction, and he has an asymmetric manifold. And so we want to open the bite and achieve a beautiful object in our bite and beautiful class 1 this patient. So we want a little bit mesialize the lower arch and visualize the upper arch. And so we put here in the middle of the curve craniano, and again we call this treatment reciprocal treatment in order to correct class 2. So we want to not use maximum anchorage, but minimum anchorage on the lower arch and section mechanics in the upper arch. And look how much space we gain with the section mechanics. We're still in class 2, and this occurs especially in the adult patient, in the permanent tissue. It doesn't occur in the growing patient. They develop a beautiful class 1 without any appliances in the premolar. But look, the activation that we performed in the section, and look the space that we gain, the rotation of the premolars, that seems to go backward with any other appliances. And when we achieve a beautiful class 3 in both sides, we'll do this that I described here, because it's easier to understand. So we want to activate the section here. We want to activate it here, the section, strain the section, and sometimes the space is just close to the canine. So we can move to a straight section, close the space, and reach a beautiful class 1. And then control the upper incisors. And we want to intrude the lower canines, align the premolars, and use a straight line. And this is the sequence, the staging metric sequence that we usually perform in class 2. This is when we finish with the beautiful class 1 on both sides. Midline is perfect. Control of the roots are perfect. With gentle force, we use just a 16 by 16 Detroit glue. No other wires. No other wires. It's still asymmetric, a little bit here, as you can see. But good position of the incisors. A little bit of extrusion because it was growing of the upper arch, and a little bit of rotation of the mandible that is not farble in class 2. So 11 months of section mechanics and 2 years to finish the case, close the space, and gain a beautiful class 1. So almost 3 years of treatment. This is before and after. Before and after. This is after 3 years, 2 months. Look the incisors. And so now we have Marta. And Marta is not easy case because she has pain in the mouth. And it's difficult to speak about this approach after the presentation that I listened to. Anyway, Marta, this is the occlusion. It's not bad. She is class 1 here on this side, a little bit class 2 on the other side. A little bit of midline deviation, but she has pain on the left side of the joint, and she has a history of click. So now she doesn't click anymore. The pattern is nasal-facial. She has a beautiful smile, beautiful upper and lower denture, beautiful lips, a little bit of mandible asymmetrical in the normal side. This is a constant, because the normal side is the side that works. It's like the same in the other joints. If you have pain on a leg, you start to compress and to overload the other joint. It's normal, even in the temporomandibular joint. It works in this way. Okay, so now we use the combine. At that time we used the tomography. It is very useful for us in order to describe this condition of compression of the condyle on the right side and the compression and the deceleration of the condyle on the other side. And if you take the X-rays with the mouth open, you can see that in the left side, where there is the clip, the condyle cannot reach the eminence. So it means that the mandible is locked on one side and deviated on that side. So she complained obviously about pain and limitation of the opening of the mouth, and she has impacted her molars, distal displacement and lock of the left condyle, superior distal displacement and of the right condyle, mandibular symmetry, +2 subdivision on the right, and the perio problem on the upper central right incisors. Remember this. This is our treatment objective, so we want to distalize the upper arch. We don't want to nasalize the upper arch. And so she is not the easy case due to the TMJ problem. And so we want to use maximum anchorage on the lower arch. But first of all, we want to solve the TMJ problem. And we use the biotemplate. It is not a splint. It's fixed in the mouth. The patient chew with this, do everything with this for a couple of weeks. Then we give instruction to the patient to remove, just to wash the teeth, to wash the appliances, and we ask the patient to do not touch the teeth, to not put the teeth in contact while she wash the teeth, because we want to see this in the clinic. And so when we remove the appliances in the clinic, we can detect the interference. If you can see, the interference is here in the upper central incisor, where there is the very problem. It's incredible. So what kind of treatment do you suggest in this case? You can send to the psychologist. You can trim the upper incisors. You can extrude the denture here, or you can intrude the upper central. This is what I did, very easy. And the mandible went forward, easily, without compression, distalization of the condyle. No. And the look that we, without anything, we gave support to the mandible with the biting blade. We don't want to push the mandible forward with the biting blade. The technique is to check the rest position, to register the rest position. We don't ask to the patient to move the mandible forward when we record the position of the mandible with the spider blade. We check on the X-rays the position of the condyle. Yes, yes. You can do this, or you can try. Then you can do another split. You can change. Okay, but we don't want to push the mandible forward. Okay, and so now she has a beautiful class 1 without any other apply. So now she is an easy case. So we want to over-treat in order to achieve a good, a superb occlusion in the buccal segment, right and left. So we continue to open the bite with the use of utility arch, and then we remove the utility arch in order to distalize the upper arch with the section mechanics, and we reconnect with the double delta and look the position of the condyle, the space that you have on the joint, and now the position when the mouth is open is in a beautiful position, and obviously the patient has no pain and she's empty. This is when we finish the treatment after less than 2 years. Beautiful profile. Now she's symmetric. Okay, this is before and after. Before and after. Beautiful profile. We didn't change the profile. And look the mandible. Now it's symmetric because we gave support in both joints. And this is what we did. A little bit of distalization of the upper molars. Before and after. And look, this is class 2. This is after the spider plate and after the treatment with 2x1. This is an utility arch, 2x1. This is when we finish. And this is after 3 years. And we remove the wisdom. And look the beautiful smile that she has. This is one of the patients that we use for the research in order to understand the latest prescription, that is the ones that maintain the upper first premolars in a wider position than the canines, in order to cover the buccal corridor, the black corridor that are not beautiful to see. So we want to expand. You can see in the Ricketts smile, you can see the premolars, the upper premolars, and the molars, not the canine. Because if you see the canine, behind the canine you have black. And so it's the only prescription. Look for the rays in the other prescription. We have the raised bracket on the canines in order to maintain the canines in, upper and lower, and we have not raised bracket in the premolars, in the upper first premolars, in order to maintain the upper first premolars in a wider position. And we published this back in 2018 with untreated patient. We saw this in untreated patient. So it not me, it's not the Ricketts described. Ricketts try to copy naturally. It's what we call the ideal occlusion. Okay, we are finished. Now we are Davide. That is close to just one side, a little bit of midline sedation, no crowding. It's pretty good symmetrical skeletal, and he is mesiofacial. So he has class 2 subdivision just on the right, and we complain about deep bite and different upper incisors. And this is our objectives in red, same thing. We want to distalize the upper arch. We want to maintain the lower arch in the same position. So we put here in the center, and so first of all we won't open the bite, then we remove the upper utility arch, and we treat just one side. And this is one of the benefits of the section mechanics, because you can treat just one side. Because in the other side you have a beautiful class 1, and you don't need brackets. When you achieve a beautiful class 1, you start to include the canines, and then you start to correct the midline. Look, the midline here, it's a little bit deviated on this side, but then you have enough space here in order to correct. And this is the mechanics that we perform. So, first of all, we correct the class 2 side. Then we maintain the canine torqued. And then we can move the 4 incisors with the double delta. We want to activate the double delta just on one side. And we want to maintain the anchorage with the elastics. And we can use a class 3 elastic on the other side. Or you can use a push and pull utility arch that I invented a couple of years ago. So you can push the denter on this side, so you want to activate this and push here, and retract on this side, okay, and correct the midline. Very, very easy. 2 or 3 appointments, you will achieve the result. As we did with this, without look, but the principle is the same. Then we reconnect all the arches, and after 3 years and 3 months we finished it. He isn't the best patient that I am, but when I achieve a class 1 years, I said, okay, I want to remove the appendix. I'm not very proud of this treatment, but stop this treatment. And David said, yes, doctor, I don't want to see you anymore. I said, me too. I'm joking. Obviously, I'm joking. Okay, so we take record, we remove the appendice. Beautiful frontal perspection. And look, the extrusion that we add, and a little bit of mandible rotation downward and backward that is not favorable in the class 2 patient. And this is one of the reasons because I want to present this case, because I explain with this the extrusion of the lower arch. So I had a problem of anchorage, of maintaining the conclusion plane low in the lower arch that can occur. So be careful and monitor the patient. And I'm not saying that it's patient fault, it's my fault. So, but you must to check. You must to check and to superimpose during the treatment in order to see what's going on. It's normal. It's obviously the patient doesn't die, but you must check for this. Okay? This is before and after. Of the midline, beautiful class 1. This is after. Then we became friends when I removed the appliances. After 3 years and 6 months. After 4 years, 5 months. After 5 years and 8 months, they said, okay, now I don't want to come anymore. Remove the retainer. And look the canines, and now it's in a better position that when I start the treatment. It's incredible. And so I used to say that I don't finish the patient. It's the nature that finish the patient. Okay, now we have Alessandro. Alessandro is the first patient that I treat with the saddle mechanics. So I'm not very good with the saddle mechanics, and because I changed also. In fact, when I teach saddle mechanics, I teach saddle my way, because I use the new multi-Schweizerschweizer in a different way that saddle do that I think that is the richest way. And for this reason I call saddle my way. My way was the best, the preferred song singing by Regans. He was a very good singer and he used to sing my way. Okay, this and the third of the longest of Alessandro. And the last one, treatment, in order to close the bite, he trimmed the molars, the cusp of the molars. Crazy. And he can close it just on the second molar. This is look. I removed the appliances, obviously, and look. It's easy. Even my son Alessandro can understand that you must intrude this in order to close the bite. Very easy. But this is asymmetrical because he hasn't the support on the right side, because he has a compression of the condyle, the right side. And it's still growing. It's permanent dentition, it's still growing. Obviously, he has an open bite, dolichofacial tendency. And he asked me, I don't want surgery. I said, no, don't worry. And so this is the video that I performed. So I want to correct the class 1 and then we close the bite. So one of the difference with the saddle is this, that first of all, we don't want to correct the class 2 when the patient, we don't want to correct the open bite when the patient is in class 2. First, we want to correct the class 2, and then when we achieve a beautiful class 1 with an open bite, we close. And it's more stable. This is the rig, it's not. So we put Alessandro here. It's a little bit difficult. So we put just aqualytics, a straight wire on the lower in order to intrude the lower second molar, and we have a beautiful class 1 just for free in the right side. So now just we want to correct with the section mechanics the class 2 on the left side. So we removed the aqualytics. We start with the first of all with the section mechanics, and then with this kind of mechanics in order to intrude the upper arch on the left side, and extrude the upper arch on the right side because it was asymmetrical as I showed. And so I said, let's check. Oh. And it's improving. I said, okay, this is my first case with the saddle mechanics. I said, okay, it can work. Dr. Garcia told to me before I met saddle 10 years ago. Okay, I start treat with the 16 Eljoy blue wire, but it's not effective. So I use then the 16 by 22 in order to intrude the upper arch on the left and extrude the upper arch on the right. Box elastic in order to maintain the bite closed, and then remove the appliances. And the only thing that I don't like is that this patient doesn't do the cusps in the molar. It's incredible. and look the mandible. Look the face, the bite. Okay. Intrusion, you cannot see because it's the right side, the left side. Now with the beam we used to perform two sets, one on the right side, the other on the left side. And look that the mandible went forward when we remove the interferences by intrusion of the lower molars. Before and after. Before and after. Before and after. And it's pretty good symmetry now. It's 1 year, 6 months later, 2 years, 9 months later, and it's still stable. And he's very clever. He's a very, very good guy. Very, very clever. Okay. Last two patients. Chiara, I perform a unique treatment that Ricketts taught me back in 2000 when I treated a colleague of mine with this same treatment. And if you see in detail, she missed lower incisors. This is a canine, okay? In fact, she has a beautiful class 1 this side and let's say class 2 on the other side. But she has a big collagen, look here, big collagen. And she was referred from the chairman at the University of Insubria in the north of Italy. And I said, okay, you know the best of the Londres in Italy, and you are referred from him, so to me I was like shocked. This is the frontal, look the double protrusion that she has, and I didn't want to extract it because I love the profile. She is a oligofacial patient. Look, is 79 of facial axis, so the mandible is backward. And so she is open wide, plus 2 division 1, overjet increased, high convexity, and the lower arch protrusion. And so the computer suggests to close in class 3. But I don't like the class 3 occlusion of the canine in order to maintain a good overjet over bite, because you have no chance. If you extract a lower incisors, if you have a class 1, you have deep bite. If you have a normal overjet over bite, you have a class 3. So I did this, that Ricketts told to me. So I don't recommend to extract the lower incisors. Never. I don't like to say never in medicine, but this case I say never. Never do this. If you have an agenesia, if you lose the lower incisors, you must to expand the arch, and you want to mesialize one side in order to fit in a class 3 this side in a beautiful class 1 with the premolar. The canine fits in a beautiful class 1 with the premolar on the class 3 side and maintain the class 1 side on the other side. Okay, in this way you can maintain another interpremolar width. And we can center in the midline with the central incisor, the contralateral incisors. And so what I did, okay, this is the side in class 1, okay, but this is the canine, okay, this is the premolar, okay, and this is the canine. So if I reach a class 3 on the molar, but I fix the upper canine and a beautiful class 1 with the premolar. Let's say the class 3, full class 3. This is a full class 3. In order to reduce the overjet. Then I close the bite, the straight wide, and then I finish. Can you see what is the canine? Can you see any symmetry? Beautiful. beautiful case that I recommend when you lose an incisor. I do not recommend to extract the lower incisors. Okay. I'm late. This is before and after. Look the reduction of the jet that I performed with this treatment, before and after. And in order to explain the mechanics, you can see that here I have the class 3 side. Okay, class 3 side, class 1 side, so I distalize just in this side. A little bit in this side in order to correct the class 2, but I distalize a lot on the other side. This is after 1 year and 4 months. Last patient, Maria. And Maria is a very difficult patient. She spent for this treatment to reach me because she lives on the other part of the island. So to reach my office, we spent the same money of the money that they gave to me to treat her. And when she came, she had pain on the joint. And it's incredible that she was already treated by another orthodontist. And here you can see the aligner here, the retainer, and you can see the compression of the condyle, the distalization of both condyles. And when you trace the mandible, you can see the asymmetry that Maria has. It's an incredible asymmetric patient. And look, the midline is off about 2 teeth. It's incredible. Also the midline of the upper central. She is very, very asymmetric. But she asked no surgery. Please, no surgery. I don't want. I know that you can help me. This is the overjet, the overbite. Look. Don't look at the numbers. Look, the X-ray was an incredible overjet. And when I perform my analysis, I use the divine proportion. And I said, look, Maria, I can do not just a surgery, because it's not surgery, it's a genioplasty, I call. Because the lower fascia is too high. I have not a chance to reduce the lower fascia. So I say, okay, let's start the treatment and we'll see. I said, okay, but I want to treat with the genioplasty at the end of the treatment. And maybe you don't know this, but we had a polygonal cyst that was removed, impacted the third molars, upper teeth displacement on both joints, maxillary symmetry, mandibular symmetry, class 2 on the right, full class 2 on the left, and open bite. The computer suggests a crash as extraction, and I wasn't agree. And this is one of the cases that I perform a unique treatment. In fact, I remove just one premolar due to the asymmetry on the lower arch. I remove the upper premolar on the upper arch, and I remove just one premolar on the lower arch, and also the genioplasty. So it's a very difficult case. So I remove the teeth, I distalize, I anchor the upper molars with quadrics, and when I distalize here, in the lower arch, I look that the symmetry is improving. Then I use the push and pull utility arch. So I want to push from this side and I want to pull on the other side in order to center the midline. And here I reach a beautiful class 1. Now I can do the break. This is the bioprogressive approach. I move just the thing that I want to move at the right time. Okay, then I want to reduce the jet, the put braces. I want to detail, but she said I found a boyfriend. and I want to get married. So you must remove the appliances. I said, Maria, no, we must do the genioplasty. No, after. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do surgery. So I said, okay, let give me a chance to take the X-rays and I want to know what's going on. And incredible. It was incredible that the mandible went forward with the and the divine proportion now are pretty much closer to the ideal. Incredible, without any surgery. So I superimpose the treatment designed with the genioplasty to the result of the treatment without surgery, and are pretty much closer. And now she's symmetric. This is when she said that she wants to finish. Before and after, incredible. Before and after, incredible result. And look the mandible, now it seems symmetric. The denture is symmetric. And this is a speculation, there is something change on the mandible. I don't know what is going on, but with the cone beam you can maybe give answers to this case. Look the midline correction, before and after. Before and after. This is when we start. And then this is the end of the treatment with the push and pull utility arch, the finish arches. Okay, this is the superimposition analysis. You can see that the mandible went forward 2 degrees in the adult patient. So my challenge is if it's possible in the growing patient, it's possible in the obviously reduced chance in the adult patient, permanent condition. This is after 1 year and 4 months, 6 years, 9 months, and this is stable. It's still stable. Still stable. Okay, I finish. And but there is another patient that is not the door. Wait. I have 5 minutes more for another patient or not. I can escape this patient and I go to the conclusion, but you won't see another patient. You tell me. I want 5 minutes. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for my day. This is what I call a demon case. Demon. When I was a master degree at the university, demon was magic. Case like this with the canine here, put the demon brackets and everything will adjust with the magic wires by them, and everybody will wow. So this is a very old case. And Monica is oligofacial, double protruded, severe crowding, high convexity, oligofacial, class 2. And I decided at that time to treat the hair without extraction, but with the expansion. I want to expand the upper arch, I want to expand the lower arch in order to reach a beautiful +1 both sides. So I put here, Monica, this room, and I expand with the quadriceps. Slow parallel expansion. So this is without wires. I expand and I reach beautiful +3 on this side, beautiful +1 the more, and class 2, still class 2 on the other side. I put a helix on the lower, and then I treated there with the sexual mechanics, utility arch, double delta arches, and I finish after a couple of years, and you look that I changed the arch form. Okay? So I'm agreeing with them when he said that he changed arch form. Yes, 100%. But if you want to expand, it's better to expand from inside. It's easier to expand from inside than to expand from outside. This is when we finish. We didn't affect the pattern. She's still toilet facial patient, and she seemed pretty much closer with the objective that we designed before. This is after 1 year and 6 months, and after 5 years and 2 months. This is before and after, and this is 10 years and 8 months after the treatment. Beautiful. And again. If you see the canine, it's not. It is in a beautiful class 1. But if you wait the nature, you wait. Now, my partner. Do you know who is my partner in the office? It's the nature. My partner will finish the case for me. Okay, now I really finish. Wait. And my patients are happy. And so diagnosis is 75% of the patient care. 20% is unlocking, and just 5% mechanics. I show you that you put just a few brackets and a piece of wire in order to achieve a beautiful result. So the conclusion are, in order to achieve simplicity, you must prevent the worsening of the condition and individualize the treatment. The take-home message is that sophisticated diagnosis allows an effective, efficient, aesthetic, and biological approach. The mechanisms that make things simple are sometimes very complex. And the simplicistic approach is candidate to failure to solve difficult problems. And the total rehabilitation of the dental patient is the role of the true specialist. I want to finish with this sentence about, about the rickets. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Orthodontics may seem small, and the total scale of things it may appear insignificant, but we perform a unique function to mankind. We contribute to his comfort, to his happiness, and to his sense of well-being, and we touch the very heart of a modern culture. Man is a gregarious animal. He clusters together for security, and he groups for stimulation with his fellow, his face, his mouth, his teeth, helping to relate and to communicate with others, and more important, to establish his identity. This in turn leads to happiness, love, and to a sense of accomplishment and purpose. This is the definition of orthodontics by Ricketts. And I want to say thank you to Professor Cabrera, that is the chairman of the University of Insubra, where I taught the bioforensics, and to Professor Chichu, that they trust me and they permit me to teach at the university, and this is the chairman at the University of Messina. And I want to dedicate this presentation to my master, Dr. Ricketts, and I want to say thank you to you. Thank you from my family, from Julia, Elisa, and Alessandro that they are here, and they came with me. We are together in Along Bay, and we spend a beautiful week here in Vietnam, and we will go through all of Vietnam. So we love this country, we love you. Thank you from us. Sorry for my delay. At the beginning they said that I had 2 hours, so...
On behalf of organizing committee of the conference, we would like to thank you from the bottom of the heart. We thank you very much for sharing the lecture, interesting and inspiring us. Thank you very much. We learn a lot from you, not only knowledge, but about experience. And I wish you, on behalf of all the audience here, I wish you and your family have a stay in Hanoi with the nice days, and you have the wonderful trip for along the Vietnam Sea. And we wish to see you next conference. Thank you very much. And please invite you to stay on the stage. Dr. Ning give you the certificate.
Thầy Thái đi đâu rồi?
Ăn điện.